Welcome to the Heritage of Our Fathers. Today we will be talking about the Benin bronzes, art, power and spirituality. The city of Benin was alive with fire, not the fire of destruction, but the glowing embers of craftsmanship. In the heart of the kingdom, beyond towering red earth walls and moats deeper than rivers, a world of art was being forged. The year was long before Europe's sails dotted the coasts, long before colonial greed would cast its shadow, when the kingdom thrived under Obas, who ruled with divine authority. Their power was not only written in wars and diplomacy, but in bronze, ivory and coral, art that would become eternal. The royal palace stood vast and sacred, its courtyards alive with ceremony. At its core were the Egon Eronwan, the guild of royal bronze casters, bound by oaths to the Oba, guardians of fire and metal. They were not mere artisans, they were priests of bronze, keepers of memory. Their furnaces burned day and night, fueled by palm kernels and charcoal, their hands shaping clay molds that would birth gods and kings. In the silence of the casting houses, one could hear chants as molten metal poured like liquid fire. The casters sang to Ogun, the spirit of iron, and to Olokun, the god of the deep, whose wealth flowed into Benin through ivory and coral. The molds broke with smoke and crackle, revealing faces of Obas long departed, queens immortalized, warriors in eternal stride. These were not just sculptures, they were voices of the ancestors. The palace walls glittered with hundreds of bronzes, each plaque a page in the kingdom's history. The Oba stood at the center of all, divine and unshakable, his coral-beaded regalia carved in eternal detail. Warriors lined his side, chiefs bowed in loyalty, Portuguese traders rendered with long noses and strange hats. Frozen in the bronze memory of Benin, the plaques told of wars, treaties, festivals, rituals, everything the kingdom was, etched in metal that could not decay. Travelers who entered the city were struck with awe. The German explorer Olfert Dapper would later write of Benin's grandeur, its palace corridors lined with shining brass. Portuguese sailors who first came in the 15th century carried back whispers of an African city whose art rivaled Europe's own. To the Edo, however, the bronzes were not for foreign eyes. They were sacred objects, instruments of ritual, living testimonies to royal power and spiritual balance. They belonged to the Oba, who alone commissioned and guarded them, their secrets bound to the throne. Each bronze carried a spirit. The casters believed that when they molded the image of a king, his essence flowed into the work. To touch a bronze plaque was to touch the shadow of an Oba, to enter communion with a lineage unbroken. The ivory masks of Queen Idea, carved with serene strength, were not just adornments, they were medicine, guardians of the kingdom's soul. Centuries passed, and the palace groaned under the weight of history. The bronzes multiplied, recording triumph and sorrow, coronations and invasions, the living story of Edo. But then came 1897, the year of fire. British troops, armed with Maxim guns, stormed the red walls of Benin in a punitive expedition, their wrath unleashed after the death of a consul who had trespassed during a sacred festival. They entered the sacred palace not with reverence, but with plunder. The flames swallowed centuries. Roofs of thatch and wood burned bright. Smoke rose into the skies, and the sacred halls fell silent. Amid the ashes, British soldiers carried away what they did not destroy. Over 4,000 bronzes and ivories, the pride of Benin, were looted, boxed, and shipped across the seas. In London, Hamburg, Berlin, and Paris, museums unveiled the treasures of Benin as curiosities. European audiences, dazzled, called them masterpieces, marveling that savages could create such sophistication. They gave them admiration, but not justice. For the people of Benin, the bronzes were not lost. They remained alive in memory and spirit, even when stolen. The Oba in exile wept not for himself, but for the shrines desecrated, the ancestors disrespected, the spiritual balance broken. Yet the bronzes carried Benin's voice across the world, whispering from glass cases in foreign halls, refusing to be silenced. In time, scholars, historians, and lovers of truth would begin to listen. They recognized in these works not only skill, but genius, a mastery of lost wax casting unmatched, a record of history more enduring than parchment. They saw the coral beads, the royal crowns, the rhythm of Edo life in metal. And though they were taken by conquest, they spoke with defiance. We are Benin. We endure. Today, as museums debate restitution, the bronzes stand at the heart of global admiration. They remind the world of a kingdom whose power was not merely in swords or trade, but in art so profound that even colonial fire could not erase it. They are symbols of dignity stolen yet unbroken, testimonies of a civilization that recorded its soul in metal. And in Benin City, the furnaces still burn. The descendants of the bronze casters continue their craft, hands steady as their ancestors, molding fire and earth into memory. Each plaque, each mask, each figure is a heartbeat of the past reborn. The story of Benin is not finished. The bronzes speak still of power, of spirituality, of art that outlived empire, and of a people who rise again from the ashes of history. With this, we have come to the end of today's story. Thank you for watching. God bless.